Good morning Year 3 and welcome to today's maths video. Today's maths video is for Thursday the 11th of February. So here is your Fluent in 5 for the day. Please pause the video and have a go. So, if you used column addition, you would have found that the answer to A was 1119. B, finding half or dividing by 2. What I've done here is I partitioned my number into 104 and then I halved 4 to get 2 and I halved 100 to get 50. I added those together and that gave me 52. So 104 divided by 2 is 52. C, I'm going to go over on the next slide. Then D, you hopefully could have used counting back to work out that 742 take away 4 was 738. So for question C, on the original slide, I gave you a little bar as a little support or a hint of how you could solve the problem. So I need to colour 7/8 to make sure that I have got 7/8. And this part here represents the 7/8. And what you would have done on your original piece of paper is you have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you would have shaded in 7 out of the 8 equal parts. So here I have 7 out of 8 equal parts. So that's what I did here. I shaded in 7 out of 8 equal parts to represent the fraction 7/8. Then I'm taking away 3/8. So look, I've crossed off my 3/8. And on your bar, you could have done this. So you are then left with 4 out of the 8. So if you shade in 7/8 of your bar, so you have 7 parts out of 8 equal parts, and then you take away 3/8, take away 3 out of the 8 equal parts, then you are left with 4/8. So now we are going to move on to looking at today's lesson, and today's lesson is learning to understand fractions. Now these next slides are going to be the slides that you have to complete today. That is your activity. I will be going through and showing the answers to each, so please make sure that you have a go at all of the slides before watching the rest of this video. If you're finding it really tricky, maybe work one slide at a time. So I am going to go through each slide, but maybe have a go at that slide, then watch the answer. Then if you get it right, you can have a go at the rest. If you get it wrong, maybe follow me one slide at a time, just so you can get helpful hints along the way. So your first activity says to put a tick in the box if the shape is divided into equal parts. So you need to look really carefully at all of these questions and decide which have been cut into equal parts, which have been divided into equal parts. Then question 2 says look carefully and fill in the boxes. You're writing the fraction of the shaded shape. So how many equal parts are there, how many parts are shaded, and then what the fraction shaded is. So have a go at that if you haven't already. So looking at the top one, this one has been cut up. Now you'll notice here that this piece is much smaller than this piece, and this piece is smaller than that piece. So it has not been divided into equal parts. This shape has, all of these parts are the same. This shape, all of the parts are the same. And this shape here, all of the parts are the same. Now, this part here may look different to you compared to these two, but if you were to rotate the shape and turn your piece of paper around, you'll notice that they are all the same. Then here, this has been divided into 8 equal parts. Now this one here hasn't. If this little line wasn't here down the middle, cutting this shape here into 2, then you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. However, by putting this line here, these 2 parts are not the same as one of those parts, so they have not been divided into equal parts. This one has not, because if you look, this part is much smaller than that part, and this part has not either. To be fair with that one, it's really difficult to see. I'm going to go for a tick. If you look carefully, I think these parts here are actually slightly bigger than these parts here, but that may not have been visible on your computer screen. The centre parts are wider than the edge parts, but you may not have been able to see that. So whilst on my answer page, I have not ticked it. If you ticked it, it's not the end of the world because it is quite difficult to see, but these parts here are actually bigger than those parts here. But don't worry if you couldn't see that. Then let's look at question 2. Now here we have a circle and it has been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. One part has been shaded, so we have one part out of 4 equal parts. Be careful not to turn those around. Then if we look at this one, our rectangle has been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts. One part of the rectangle is shaded, so we have 1/8 of the rectangle is shaded. This one, make sure you've paused the video and had a go. So what fraction is shaded? Circle the correct answers. So with this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 equal parts. So it can't be 1/6 because that would mean we had 6 equal pieces. So both of those are out. Then here, look, we've got 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we've got 1 out of 7, we have 1/7 and 1/7 in words. Then the next one. Now here we've got 1 part shaded out of 2 parts. So we know we have 1/2. We do not have 1 whole. 1 whole is not shaded. Now, it's not called 1/2s. It is called 1/2. So they should be the 2 that you have circled. Finally, this one, I have got 1 piece out of 1, 2, 3 shaded. I do not have 1 out of 2 shaded. I have 1/3 shaded. We do not call it 1/3s. It is 1/3. So very well done if you got that one right. Then number 4, cross the odd ones out. Now, this one you've got to look even harder and see if you can work out. So here I have got 1 part out of 2 parts shaded. Oh look, 1/2. So I know they match. What have I got here? Well, I have 1 part of my circle out of 2 equal parts shaded. Now here I have got 1 part out of 2 parts, but they are not equal. So this one is the odd one out, because although I have 1 part out of 2, here I have 1 part out of 2 equal pieces. Here I have 1 part out of 2 equal parts, and here I've got 1/2, and this is the only one not showing 1/2. Question 4. Now if I look here, I've got 1 out of 3 shaded. 1 out of 1, 2, 3. Here I've got 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a third and this is a quarter. Now let's have a look at the next one. I've got 1, still the same top number, out of 1, 2, 3, 4. I think this one is going to be the odd one out. Let's just check. Yes, here this says 1/4, which is 1/4, so 1/3 is the odd one out. This one, here I've got 1 out of 1, 2, 3 equal parts. I've got 1/3. Here I've also got 1/3. That is the same as writing 1/3. This shape here, I've got 1 part out of 3 equal parts. Already then I think this is going to be the odd one out. Let's check. Well, here I've got 1 part out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know that this one is the odd one out because all of the others represent 1/3. Let's look at D. So 1/6 would be written like that. Then here I've got 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So I've got a quarter. Then here I've got 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. And here I've got 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. So actually I know this time the quarter is the odd one out because all of the others represent 1/6. Let's look at question E. Now here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 parts in total and 1 part is shaded. This one, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts. 1 is shaded. Now I know they're equal. You might not look it, but I know they're equal because look, if I look at that as a square, the square has been cut exactly in half. So those 2 pieces are equal, so those 2 pieces are equal, those 2 pieces are equal, and so on. Here I've got 1/8, that is written like that. And here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. And I've got 1 part shaded. However, they are not equal. Because if you look here, I've got two large parts there and then a tiny part here. They are not equal, so it's not 1/8. So well done if you spotted that that one was the odd one out. Question 5. So here you have to again have a go at building the fraction. So you need to look at how many out of how many equal parts are shaded and then write the fraction. Sometimes it works to just put little dots so you know which ones you've done already. Other times make sure you know exactly where you're starting from to count round so you don't count the same part more than once. So here I have got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts. I have 1, 2, 3 out of my equal parts shaded, so I have 3 8s. If I look at B, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts shaded, so I have 5/6 of my shape shaded. This one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts, 8 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts shaded, so I have 5/8 of the shape shaded. So I don't know if you got that one right. You might be looking at that one thinking those parts aren't equal. Let me just quickly show you why. So here I've got a triangle, here I've got exactly the same triangle, and both of those triangles have just been cut down the middle. Question 6. Part of each shape has been shaded. What fraction of each shape has been shaded? Write the fraction in the box. So this time I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal parts. I have 1, 2, 3 of my equal parts shaded. So I have 3/5 of my shape shaded. Then look at this one. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. I've got 1, 2, 3 of my parts shaded. So I've got 3/4 of my shape shaded in. Here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts shaded. So I've got 5/8 of my shape shaded. Here we're getting a bit bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got 10 equal parts. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts shaded. So I have 7/10. Then here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts shaded. So I've got 4/9 of that shape shaded. Well done if you got that right. Then the last one. This time you've got to shade in the amount of parts to show the fraction that has been given. So here I have 2 parts shaded out of 3 equal parts. Here I have 3 equal parts, so I shade 2 to make sure that I have 2 out of 3 shaded. Looking over here, I've got 3 equal parts. That's right, because my denominator is 3. 1, 2, 3. Then my numerator, the top number, tells me that I have 2 parts. So I shade in 2 parts. Here, I've got 3 parts out of 4 equal parts. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 parts here. I need to shade in 3 of them. So there I have 3/4 of my shape shaded. Same here, I've got 1, 2, 3 of them shaded. Doesn't need to look exactly like this as long as you have 3 out of the 4 shaded in. Here I've got 2/5, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I colour 2 of them in, I have 2 out of my 5. And again here, 2 out of my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one I'm going to shade 3/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I shade in 3 of them, 3 out of 10. And again over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shade in 3 of them. 5/6 this time. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is correct. I've got 6 equal parts. And I need to colour in 5 of them. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts, which is correct. And I need to shade in 5 of them. So very well done if you got all of those right. And hopefully you are understanding and finding fractions not too scary. I'll see you soon for more videos. Goodbye.